This is a Saturday Morning TVLog from Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. Greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome to another Saturday Morning TVLog. And this time around, it's Frankenstein Jr. and the Impossibles, brought to us by Hanna-Barbera. Hello again, I'm Doyle, the Big D to y'all. This is Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. So let's talk about this show, Frankenstein Jr. and the Impossibles. Well, which is probably one of the most underrated superhero toons in my book. Anyway, Hanna-Barbera produced the show. It premiered on CBS in 1966, where that same year we got another Hanna-Barbera superhero toon, that being the original Space Ghost. Anyway, now, like the Space Ghost series, there were 3 different toons. Well, there was one Frankenstein Jr. toon sandwiched in between 2 Impossibles shorts. There were 18 episodes produced and aired for one season. Of course, Frankenstein Jr. just being in between the 2 Impossible segments were, well, 18. Now for the Impossibles, of course, it was doubled, and there were 36 Impossibles adventures. So let's talk about it. Of course, this served as a middle ground between Hanna-Barbera's traditional cartoon early output and its superhero-based cartoons of the late 1960s. So anyway, let's get started. Now then, Frankenstein Jr. is, well, this big heroic robot created by young boy scientist Buzz Conroy, who lives with his dad, Professor Conroy, in Civic City. Whenever trouble occurs, Buzz uses a special energy ring to get Frankie up and going. And so, when he is ready, Frankie, as Buzz calls him, does that to get charged up. And alakazam! Off they go. Now, actually, Frankie was more than a little reminiscent of the title character in Gigantor and the giant robot of Johnny Sacco and his flying robot. But anyway, Frankie had some pretty big strength and what have you to take on the bad guys and what have you. He'll do lots of other cool stuff, but if you've never seen the show, this would be worth checking into. But I really do like it. Now, Frankie is voiced by Ted Cassidy, who recently voiced Lurch in The Addams Family. Yes. He'd later go on to work on some other Hanna-Barbera cartoons as well. Now, Professor Conroy is voiced by John Stevenson, who certainly is no stranger to Hanna-Barbera. He's done lots of voice acting work for them. Most notably, he was the voice of Mr. Slate on The Flintstones. And and he was also the original voice of, I believe he was the original voice of Dr. Benton Quest on Johnny Quest. I believe. Yes. Before Don Masick took over. And Dick Beals voices Buzz. Now, he voiced several other characters in Hanna-Barbera cartoons as well. I mean, one I mostly do know was Reggie Van Doe in the Richie Rich cartoon, which is celebrating its 40th anniversary. A Saturday Morning TVLog will be coming up sometime later on. I don't know when, but I will be doing that, because that's a show I need to talk about. Okay, enough about that. But Frankenstein Jr. is definitely a great character. Alright, now as for the Impossibles, however, who actually was originally to be called The Incredibles during the development of the show. However, it was changed to The Impossibles by the time of the production of the series. And henceforth, that title Incredibles was given to a future Disney Pixar movie. Anyway, The Impossibles. These three dudes, well, are actually superheroes, but they pose undercover as a Beatlesque rock music band, which is really something. Yes. And so, whenever they are alerted by their chief, Big D, no, don't get confused with me, thank you, because I wasn't even born when this show came out. Okay, I was just having some fun with y'all, see if you were paying attention. Well, let's see. Now, Big D contacts them via a receiver in the base of Coily, that's one of the members, his left-handed guitar, and then the other members are Fluey and Multi, which are just kind of little aliases for their actual hero names. He advises them there's a villain out there. Now, they take out villains. Sometimes some have appeared more than one time, like the Spinner and the Paper Doll Man. But there will be also several other characters they face, including Smogula, the Puzzler, let's see, Billy the Kidder, Mother Gruesome, and Televisitron. Anyway, once they get word, the Singing Impossibles become who they really are, super crime fighters. Now, of course, their names are descriptive of their powers. First is Multi-Man, voiced by Don Masick, who, of course, is no stranger to Hanna-Barbera. He does lots of voices. Of course, I mentioned he would be the layer voice of Dr. Benton Quest on Johnny Quest. And, of course, this was still a ways before he was the original voice of a certain Scooby-Doo. He can create identical copies of himself. Can easily help his two buddies out of a jam. Next, Coil Man, voiced by Hal Smith. He did lots of Hanna-Barbera shows as well. He can form into a super springy coil. Well, because the coil's right to where his feet is. Can bounce around, which is really something. And Fluid Man, voiced by Paul Frees, who I believe is also the narrator as well, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Well, don't say, but I'm pretty sure he's the narrator as well. He also voices Big D. Now, Fluid Man, of course, can transform his body into any fluid. Yes. Anyway, this is a really great show, and I love it. I even like the music, which is really cool. I like to get down with some of the tunes and what have you. Whenever they get out of a situation by those villains, they'll sometimes say, those impossibles are impossible. Yeah, because it's impossible to get away from the impossibles, you know. If you've never seen the show, I would definitely recommend it. I'd recommend watching this whole series. Anyway, yeah. And sometimes when someone they kind of help out says impossible, when the impossibles are in their their undercover form as the band, that was a cue for them to get into the groove with some music. Yeah. And it's a shame they didn't put out an actual record of the music. That would have been pretty cool, though. Anyway, the show went on for one more season of reruns, but unfortunately, like Space Ghost and other cartoons that came out the following year from Hanna-Barbera, like the Herculoids and Birdman and Moby Dick and My Tour and stuff like that. Oh, it was one of the main shows that was a target of complaints about violence in children's television. However, years later, the Frankenstein Jr. segments were later recycled and rerun with Space Ghost on NBC in 1976. But anyway, now the segments will be shown in syndication and on Cartoon Network's part of the Super Adventures block, which is where I got introduced to this. Now, on rare occasions, I did see the segments alone or together, and sometimes restored with the original intro and closing, which I like the intro music. Yeah, the theme song is really catchy too. Yep. Now, actually, I forgot to point out, Hal Smith was the narrator of just one episode of The Impossibles. Freeze didn't do all of them, but anyway. This was really cool, and I really think it's got a lot of fun. Now, there was also comic books from Gold Key, and also there would be Archie comics of them. As they appeared in a Hanna-Barbera Presents. Let's see. There'd be many others. In 2016, the characters actually returned in playing a major role in the DC Comics series Future Quest, which focused on Johnny Quest as well as other characters like Space Ghost, Moby Dick and Minotaur, the Herculoids, plus Birdman and the Galaxy Trio. I've never actually looked at that, but I've heard of it though. Well, actually, I have had a glimpse at one issue of Future Quest. It looks pretty cool, actually. Now, a few years later, Hanna-Barbera reused some of the Impossible's heroic identities for their 1979 series, the Super Globetrotters, which of course featured the Harlem Globetrotters as undercover superheroes. Now, the Fluid Man or Liquid Man bit, was used by Nate Branch. The Coil Man bit was used for the character as Spaghetti Man, the alias of Twiggy Sanders. And the Multi-Man bit was the, same powers and what have you in similar costume for Geese Osby. I'll talk about Super Globetrotters sometime down the road. But anyway, that's all I wanted to tell you. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Whenever they get ready to take on the bad guys, once they're in uniform, the Impossibles give a cry of "Rally Ho!" They'll even do it when they're ready to take on the baddies. Rally Ho! And Fluey mostly does the double. Rally Ho Ho! And boy, I love the Impossibles. Don't hate me for it. Now, and one more thing. For those of you who never got to see Scoob recently, if you watch closely, you'll actually see a poster of the Impossibles in the young Shaggy's room, as a matter of fact. You also see Frankenstein Jr. in kind of a little, in the closing credits. Well, with other Hanna-Barbera characters. So, I would like to see Frankenstein Jr. or even the Impossibles in a movie. That would be pretty cool. You think it's pretty cool? Or maybe not. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's going to do it. So what did you think? Do you like this show or do you not? I'd love to know if you liked Frankenstein Jr. and Impossibles. Please feel free to tell me in the comment section below. If you like this video, click the like button below and subscribe to my channel as well and be a part of the Big D Nation. Join me again next Saturday morning when I bring to you another 1966 superhero toon, and this one's probably the most rarely remembered, the Super 6. Thanks for watching. If you like this, see these other Saturday Morning TV logs. In the upper left-hand corner is my Saturday Morning TV log of the original Super Friends from 1973 that I did earlier this month. The upper right-hand corner is last week's Saturday Morning TV log of the original Spider-Man from 1967. And the bottom left-hand corner is one I did last year for the New Adventures of Superman, which that happened to come out the same year this show did, in 1966. And the bottom right-hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe. If you like rankings and reviews on TV, movies, video games, music, etc., then I'm your guy. And if you like my Saturday Morning TV logs, feel free to check out all of them. Okay, until next time, I'm the Big D saying see ya.